How's everybody doing? Welcome to this Varsity Sports Now web extra with Jason Andera. I'm Jay Elsen. We're going to talk some 9-man football. Thursday is 9-man day at the Dakota Dome. 9AA through 9B. You're going to all play for state championships on Thursday. We're going to preview all of those games here individually over the next few minutes. We're going to start in Class 9AA with a matchup that's very intriguing. Howard comes in. They're the 8th seed at 9-2. Taking on Dubrook area, the number 2 seed, one of the only undefeated team left, obviously, in 9AA at this point. They are 11-0 on the season. But Howard is a team we've been talking about throughout the postseason because they are much better than an 8 seed. They just played some really difficult teams, got some tough losses, and therefore their power points suffered. But impressive, to say the least, the run that they've had to get to this point.
Yeah, Howard has those 2 losses on the year against their 2 tough teams that were on their schedule, which doesn't give them a lot of power points, so it put them down to that 8th seed. But no one was surprised when they played right along with Kimball White Lake, and then last week absolutely torching Clark Willow Lake, took them by the mercy rule in the playoffs. That doesn't happen very often, especially in the semifinals. But some news for Howard, they've got Cole Potter, one of their 3 stud running backs. He hasn't played for the last couple of weeks, and he's going to be a game-time decision, so watch out how that plays out. But on the other hand, you've got Dubrook, who just loves this up-tempo game. They're going to get to the ball and snap as many plays as they can. They're going to keep Howard running and try to wear down them on their depth. And, of course, they've got probably the most dynamic running back in this whole tournament. We've got Ryan Knutson, who's gone over 2,000 yards rushing, put up 38 touchdowns this year. He's been doing it all season long against good competition, bad competition, and they're always in the game. They always feel like they get behind sometimes in these playoffs. They've been behind a couple times, and they know they can come back and win. So this is going to be a good matchup between an undefeated team, and although they're an 8th-seeded team, Howard is probably just a little bit of a favorite.
As you mentioned, Dubrook undefeated, but they've had to earn it here over the last couple of weeks. A 22-20 overtime win over Potter County in the quarterfinals, and then a 44-37 shootout win over Gregory. So they've earned their stripes, and they've earned the right to play for a state title.
Yeah, and they can throw the ball as well as they can run the ball. We talk about Ryan Knutson and how he's run over 2,000 yards. They've got Taylor Olson, a guy who can throw the ball and when they need to. And the big line is also the key for this team and Adolph Shepherdson's team. Dubrook is definitely going to be in this game, but Howard, they present a lot of issues in that backfield. Luke Laudenberg's been over 200 yards rushing 2 times throughout this playoffs. I mean, he's like 5'4", 130 pounds, and he can get through any hole that you find, and he'll go off to the races. So I expect him on that carpet to be a real factor for Howard.
What do the Tigers have to do to get a win here?
Well, they're going to have to play physical, and they're going to have enough depth to keep up with Dubrook and the pace of their game.
How about Dubrook? What do they have to do?
Well, Dubrook definitely will be doing the same thing. They'll be looking to win that line of scrimmage battle, and they're going to have to contain on the outsides because Howard uses that play action. They've got several different backs. Misdirection, you never know which back is going to get the ball, and they can throw it when they need to with Landon Leibel, but they're going to have to be defensively very, very cautious on the outside.
Let's take a look at the 9A matchup, and a couple of undefeated teams here in Warner and Canastota, but I think most people outside would agree that these 2 teams, while they're both undefeated, aren't necessarily on the same playing field. Canastota's won 35 straight games coming in. They were the 9B champs in 2010, the 9A champs in 2011. Is there any way the Hawks don't hoist the hardware again?
I'll tell you what, I talked to Lenny Schroeder, the coach of Canastota, and he thinks that Warner is the most evenly matched team that the Hawks have played in the last 3 years. He's got that much respect for them, and it's because they've got big linebackers, 2 6'4" linebackers for Warner. But to neutralize that, Lenny Schroeder thinks that his guards are the best guards in the state in 9-man football. And Jason Van Winkle can move people, and he can get up the field in a hurry. So he thinks he has the guards to neutralize those linebackers, and I think that will be the key. They'll still be able to run on Warner. Warner doesn't have quite enough depth to keep up with Canastota.
Canastota hasn't even had to play a full game in the playoffs yet. 54-0 over Hanson in the first round. Canastota 50-0 win over Wall in the quarterfinals. 56-6 then over the semifinals. Any chance that hurts them at this point, given the fact they haven't had to play 4 quarters?
Well, it hasn't hurt them in the last 2 years. They've gone to the Dome and put up a 60-point performance last week, 50 the other 2 years. They're a very solid team. They do have to watch out, though. They've got a higher caliber player that they have to guard than they've ever had to guard in Jared Tuska. He's a guy that's going to be playing with the Bison next year, and he does a little bit of everything for Warner. So it'll be fun to watch him and Clay Roselle and Basil, their running back, who's gone over 100 yards several games this season. A lot of players for Warner, just worried a little bit about the depth.
How does Warner do the unthinkable and get a win here?
well, they're going to have to pull off some huge plays, and then mostly in the special teams game. And they've done that in the special teams game this year where they've gotten some kick returns and punt returns for touchdowns, and then they're going to have to obviously take care of the ball against Canastota. You cannot give them any mistakes, can't give them any stupid penalties. Whoever plays the best mistake-free game, and that's what the coach for Warner told me, whoever makes the fewest mistakes is going to win, and that normally does happen in football, but it's especially true for Warner when they're trying to knock off the Giant.
Is it as simple for Canastota then, just do what you do? If you do what you do, are you just better than everybody else?
Well, they are more physical. They've got the big guys up front, and I do think the key is what Lenny Schroeder told me. If those guards can block those linebackers and get the normal yardage they're used to getting in the running game, nobody can stop them because they're just a machine on offense.
All right, finally, we move into the 9B matchup. A couple of West River teams, something that you don't see very often, at least of late, in the South Dakota High School Football Championships. It's Colome and Harding County. Both of these teams came out of Region 4 but did not play during the regular season, Jason. Colome has some pedigree. They won the title in 2007, runner-up in 2006. They've been here 6 times now overall. Harding County has also been here 6 times. The Ranchers runner-ups in 9A in 2010. They were the 9B champs back in 1993. And as you take a look at how both teams got here, other than that 22-16 win over Avon for Colome in the quarterfinals, it's been pretty smooth sailing. They've cruised through to this point.
Yeah, Colome, they're a different type of animal. You look at their offensive line, only 3 offensive linemen in 9-man football. They average 276 pounds up front. They've got some road graders up there, and they've got 2,000-yard backs. One of them, their quarterback, Terrence Kinzer, who worries everybody that they play against. And then they're just going to be running the ball all night long. That's not in question. And on the other hand, you've got Harding County, who loves to pass the ball. They've got Jess Feist, the guy who has thrown for 1,000 yards and has also run for 1,000 yards this season. So expect the run for Colome and expect the pass for Harding County. It could be an interesting matchup.
You would think that would make ball control very important for Colome. They want to keep that high-powered offense of Harding County on the sideline as long as they can, right?
Exactly. And with those big guys up front for Colome, that's going to be the name of the game is controlling the ball on offense. And those guys are athletes too. Just because they're 276 pounds on average doesn't mean they're just out there taking up space. These guys can move the ball down the field. So Colome will try to wear them out, which is a hard thing to do when you're playing against the Ranchers.
And it should be a great day of football Thursday down at the Dakota Dome with the 9-man championships. Thanks for tuning into this Varsity Sports Now Web Extra. Be sure to tune in to us next week on Varsity Sports Now for a complete championship recap from North and South Dakota. We'll see you then.